More insane KOs coming up next as we scour the combat sports history books to bring you the very best in brutal knockouts. Here are some impossible knockouts caught on camera. We're not here to build up slowly to the best knockouts. No, we're coming in for a strong round one. This knockout was truly wild. A tornado kick that could not have landed any cleaner. The setup on this one was rapid, and the way the kick knocked its target backwards like that, yeah, this was a pretty extreme case of getting your lights shut out and the perfect way to kick off our list. This next one is totally insane. The crowd was definitely loving this matchup for as long as it lasted, as the fighter in the red showcased his talents, mixing up elbows before then using a stylish dodge to get out of the way of a head kick. But after luring his opponent in with a lazily thrown set of punches, this dude spun rapidly into a beautiful spinning elbow, landing clearly on his chin, KOing him stiff for the highlight reel finish. The best Taekwondo fighters use their hopping movement to mask any blasts of forward momentum that they may have. By offsetting their own rhythm, they can catch their opponents totally off guard. And this next one showcases just how much range and power that you can get in a head kick when you adopt this Taekwondo stance. Everything seemed to be pretty relaxed between these two guys up until the blue fighter sprung his trap. Next thing we knew, he was darting into range with the perfect head kick finish. There's nothing quite like an upset win in the sport of boxing. The game is set up in such a way where a technical master can be so proficient in both offense and defense that it makes the idea of them losing incredibly far-fetched. And that's exactly what made Hasim Rahman Jr.'s shocking knockout of Lennox Lewis one of the greatest upsets of all time. Lennox was very much the king of the heavyweight division at the time, but when Rahman landed clean, it mattered for little. Speaking of impossible victories, oddsmakers were so confident that Mike Tyson was going to beat James Buster Douglas that the majority of the Nevada bookies refused to take bets on this fight. As it turned out, Iron Mike was woefully underprepared for what was about to follow. Buster Douglas clearly wanted it more than Tyson, and over the course of a thrilling back-and-forth bout, he proved it, eventually knocking out the unbeatable champ for the biggest upset in the history of boxing. Sometimes bobbing and weaving movement can be enough to lull an opponent into a false sense of security, and for this one, it allowed one of these fighters to catch his adversary napping, exploding into a perfect spinning wheel kick that sent him to the shadow realm. You just knew as soon as this one landed, partially blocked or not, it was going to cause some major pain. And sure enough, the KO was awarded, one of the most powerful spins you'll see in the Muay Thai ring. The next one is such a unique finish, in the sense it doesn't follow the expected trajectory. We've seen KOs that involve a missed punch or roundhouse kick that involve the fighter using that momentum to spin into their follow-up shot. But this guy? Well, this guy does it a little differently. He misses with his first shot, but instead of following through and using that direction, he goes the opposite way instead, catching everyone, including his opponent, completely off guard. If you want to look at an example of what we're talking about when it comes to using your own momentum, look no further than this very crafty knockout. The first kick looked pretty slow, lazy even, as he did his best to mask his true intentions. And when the follow-up came, it was definitive proof of his game plan with the shot. Nasty knees and this channel go hand in hand, and the execution here is truly worthy of the highest praise. A huge step-in knee like this one is just about as close as you can get to the sheer force of a flying knee, and while it's not 100% clear whether he landed to the chin or to the solar plexus, the impact was enough to ensure that this fight was called off right then and there. Yeah, you got to imagine that this one hurt a lot. We can't have one massive knee without taking a moment to find an example of its flying counterpart, and this flying knee is just about as clean as you'll see. After finding himself with quite a bit of space in front of him, this dude vaulted himself at his opponent, nailing him right on the chin with a blistering usage of the flying knee, putting him to bed once and for all. You know we love spinning back elbows on this channel, but this one is truly a marvelous piece of work. The setup here involved a big dramatic step-in that gave this fighter the perfect angle to attack from, and just based on the eye test, that setup makes this stunning elbow KO one of the best usages of the technique that you'll ever see. A brutal knockout blow. Gervonta Davis is a man who has some extreme power in his shots, but even by his standards, this hammer blow of an uppercut is truly insane. With Leo Santa Cruz standing opposite him, Davis managed to lean into this truly perfect shot, one of the greatest one-punch uppercut finishes you'll ever see in this sport. Tank is one mean dude. More spinning elbows up next, as these two Muay Thai fighters set an incredibly high pace, trading positions in the clinch, never letting the tempo drop. So when one of these guys decided to use that high intensity to his own benefit, he managed to land the perfect spinning elbow, catching his overeager opponent right on the chin, shutting his lights out right then and there. A great spinning elbow will always prove fatal to a hasty adversary. But we don't just deal in spinning elbows. No, when it comes to spin moves, we'll take anything that can produce the goods. We next move to some women's Muay Thai, where this fighter managed to set up the perfect spinning back fist to leave her opponent on the canvas shelled up. There was just something undeniably cold about how the target here dropped to the mat. You don't get up after a shot as clean as that one. A lesser fighter might need a few extra feet of range to successfully land this type of kick, but for Remy Bonjanski, you get the feeling he could head kick someone in a phone booth. There was zero telegraphing on this shot, as he masked it expertly with the punch that preceded it before landing the head kick off beat, flattening his opponent in the process. The whole movement was just so clean, making this one of the finest head kick setups you'll ever see. Sometimes when you watch Naoya Inoue, it can be hard to understand just how he can generate so much power. This dude fights anywhere up to 122 pounds, and yet when he lands clean, he's able to crack with the force of a middleweight. As one of the pound-for-pound greats of his era, watching Inoue composing another violent masterpiece is always a thrill. Speaking of middleweights, this next one was one of the cleanest counterpunches you'll ever see. A shot so sneakily brilliant that it wasn't actually clear what had happened at first. Arthur Abraham managed to fold Corin Gaver like a chair with this one, finding his mark, a laser-like counter left hook that barely needed any wind-up, and boy did his opponent's hardware completely shut off on impact. A shockingly good knockout. Just because you're backed into a corner, it doesn't mean you're necessarily in trouble. But even with that being the case, it's not often you see a head kick knockout in such a confined space. And if you do, they're rarely as slick as this one. When a guy falls face first like this, you just know it's a bad one. And with that impact like that, can you really blame him? A scintillating piece of head kick mastery, that's for sure. We're bringing you an undeniable 10 out of 10 head kick next, as the veteran Mladen Brestovac scored a KO shot of the highest caliber imaginable. After trading kicks with his opponent down low, Brestovac switched his attack up high, nailing his target with the perfect head kick for his greatest highlight reel moment. These heavyweights just have a different level to their kicking game, and this one is as good as any. You want to talk about a true 1 in a million KO? Well, how about this Taekwondo highlight that saw this practitioner get his kick caught by his opponent? Thinking fast, he decided to fire off an audacious front kick to the face while he was in the middle of falling backwards. The impact was so severe, it knocked his opponent's headgear off entirely. You could watch combat sports for another decade and never see a finish quite like this one. A mean body kick comes in next, the type of knockout that proves you don't need to have your lights shut out to make it onto a list like this. This skilled practitioner used a caught kick from his opponent to land a baseball bat of a right kick directly to the midsection. The reaction from the opponent wasn't immediate either. His attempt to be tough and put on a poker face dissolved away before our very eyes. You could almost feel his pain. A heavyweight knockout is generally far scarier than their lighter-weighted counterparts. But a heavyweight spinning back kick? Yeah, that's another level entirely. And this insanely good execution of the technique from Guto is just about as clean as it gets. He throws this kick like he's 50 pounds lighter than he actually is. A rapid-fire blow that instantly separates his opponent from his consciousness. Heavyweights shouldn't be able to move that quickly, that fluidly. But here we are. A shockingly good knockout. Using your opponent's forward momentum against them is the best way to ensure that your blow lands with added power. And this next knockout takes that concept to another level, as this Taekwondo practitioner makes this dude pay for his overly aggressive offense. After running in his opponent's direction, this guy was met with a huge spinning wheel kick right to the face, one that immediately ended his night. And we're gonna finish up with one more Taekwondo KO. This one actually looked a little tame at first, as these two fighters exchanged totally inconsequential pitter-patter shots. feeling each other out. But man, once the spinning heel kick came, the results were truly harrowing. The way his back bent on impact, how the stray arm was left stiffened in the air from the kick, yeah, this was a truly scary finish.